Usually in the men's sphere, you see that they're trying to get into power at any price, by any means. And that is what makes the world today so materialistic, and we have so many conflicts, and there's so much talk about war and conflict and the sales of arms and weapons. That is taking its toll on humanity today. And that's because usually what is at stake is the fact that men want to get into power by any means, at any price. But it's different for a woman. And women, they don't have that kind of ambition. They usually see things either through activism. It's important for them to they have a set of objectives and targets. To reach those objectives and targets and to deliver properly, being trustworthy is very important for women. Addressing the sufferings and the pains of the people is very important, usually for women. And they don't seek power for power. They don't seek power for their selfish interests. I think that that is also an issue which maybe in some competitions, in some rivalries, that puts women in a maybe difficult position, because she doesn't want to compete for the sake of power. She has loftier objectives.
Now, in your home country, Iran, you are clearly the exception. It's a very male-dominated society. Many people actually take the view that women are more oppressed in Iran. How did you convince the men around you to actually support you in your political ambition?
That's not actually the picture any longer. I was the first woman vice president of Iran in 1997 during the President Khatami's government. He was the first president to appoint a woman vice president, and I was the head of the Department of the Environment for 8 years. And also after that we had a woman minister of health, and now we have 3 women vice presidents in Iran.
What made the difference for those women that you're mentioning now?
The difference was that, I think what they did, the efforts that they made, the change that they brought about, the fact that in many different areas, not only at the level of vice ministers, vice presidents, or at the level of the government, but also at the level of the public. For example, in councils, in the cities, in the urban areas, in the rural areas, educated women started appearing and they were voted for, and they came into the scene. And then the NGOs in Iran, they made a great change. And the legal framework was there. There's no obstacle to women's advancement in Iran. And I think that the women themselves, they took this opportunity for granted, and they took great steps, strides in education. Now in our universities, more than 50% of the students are women. About 27% of the professors are women in our universities. We have so many women in sports now, with Olympic medals, with...
You're mentioning there's academia, sports, civil society, artists, yes, but when it comes down to politics, women are still widely underrepresented. What do you feel in your society needs to change?
I think that's the competition, the very fierce political competition that we have between the different parties, and the fact that we need more women. And I think that we have to work for more representation in the parliament. We currently have 16 women MPs, but that has to increase. We're looking for a 30% target. In now the government, we have a decree by the president. He has targeted 30% of the decision-making positions and the management posts in the government have to be allocated to women by 2020. So that's an important target that the president has set. We're also looking for a similar target in the parliament. We hope that in the upcoming elections, women will be able to occupy more than 30% of the parliament seats. So the educated Iranian woman is emerging in the society, and there's a lot of hope for the future.
If there's just one obstacle you could remove for women in your country, what would that be?
The major obstacle is the cultural issues and the stigma sometimes, and that has to be done through education. There has to be a lot of education on the important role that women can play as mentors, as scholars, as politicians, the change that they can bring about, and how well they can solve the current challenges that we have in our government, in our society. I think that changing those perceptions, that is the major issue that we have ahead of us.